The Christmas rush is finally over, and I even managed to find a little bit of quiet time to visit my local nature reserve again. Over the last few weeks, I've been really lucky to spot and photograph a couple of lovely kingfishers along the river. Now, my photos aren't perfect, and I definitely am not a professional photographer, but I managed to capture enough detail to bring these beautiful birds back into my sketchbook. I spent some time studying their shapes and colors, and today I'd love to invite you to paint along with me. I have prepared a free PDF with a simple kingfisher outline. You can download it using the link in the description below. You can use any art materials you like, but I'll be painting with my watercolors today. So let's get started. I printed out the same outline that is in the PDF, and I have a size 5 synthetic brush. This is by Pro Art, but any synthetic brush that comes to a nice point is suitable for this. And I have 4 colors. I have ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and yellow lemon, and also this lovely cerulean blue. So I'm mixing a lovely sort of watery mixture here, and I'm going to start from the top, so from the head, and I'm going to go gently round. I feel like I need more water on my brush for the paint to flow better, and I'm just going to do the tricky part around the eye and all the way here around the lovely cheek that is going to be orange. This is a white part, and I'm just going to take it down here. Now here is the highlight area, so I'm going to treat it with slightly diluted cerulean blue. That works quite well. And then I'm going to continue with covering the whole wing all the way to the tail with blue. So this whole area is going to be just covered with blue. You can really relax about this part. Now this is the part that is blue here, and it sort of slowly transitions to orange later, but we still need more blue here and here. We're going to add the darker parts and the details at the second layer. So I'm just pulling this color down all the way here, and the tail, all the way down. Okay, we can come back to these parts a little bit later. So now I want the paint to dry here, and I'm going to paint the beak. So I'm mixing ultramarine blue with just a touch of alizarin crimson to mix this kind of purple color. My mix is very diluted with water at this stage. I'm going to add just tiny bit of yellow to desaturate this purple a little bit. Just a little bit more, and maybe just touch of this alizarin crimson. And with this very diluted mixture, I'm just going to paint the beak. Follow the lines gently. This part is white, so I'm trying to be careful not to completely cover it. So now it's time to mix the orange. So we need to mix some yellow. This is a lemon yellow, which is quite green, and then we're going to add a little bit of that alizarin crimson, and it gives us this kind of the saturated orange that is not too bright, but it's just about the color of the kingfisher's belly. So I'm just going to take the color down here. And since I have this beautiful orange mixed in, I'm also going to put it here around the lovely orange cheek here. There's also a little bit of orange just here and just around here. So let's do our brush. We also already have this desaturated color. I'm just going to add a little bit more yellow to it, and we have a nice kind of gray tone, and just very gently, very light wash. Just going to add this detail. Can add a little bit more yellow for green, just to add a little bit of variety here. And we can add a little bit more pigment here, just more red. That looks quite good. Maybe a bit more blue. And we can add the shadow part wet in wet. It just spreads lovely and creates this nice soft transition. There is a shade here because this is the part that is underneath the bird. So it's definitely more shaded. And here. Now for the foot, I will just mix tiny bit of that alizarin crimson to my original orange color. It's just a little bit more red than orange. I don't need a lot of pigment. I'm just going to gently paint this. It's already quite saturated, so I'm just going to gently pull this down here. Okay, and what we're going to do now is mix the nice darker color for the rest of the bird. So I'm just going to go to the same patch. I've got nice blue. I think I need to add a little bit of that alizarin crimson, and I have a lovely bright color here, and I'm going to start from the top. So I'm going to just gently go around the eye here, just around this highlight and this area here. I can see that this whole area is darker, so just take it down to the white. And then I just want to, moving this way, just add the pattern in a kind of very jaggedy, sort of shaky hand movement to add this pattern to the kingfisher's head. Just following roughly around the shape of the head until I get to the edge. And with the same color, I can see that this part is also darker, so I'm just going to pull this color here and kind of goes like this. And it's a little bit lighter here. Just going to try to blend it to my orange and to my blue. And for the rest of the wing, I am going to just add this as a glaze. So this is the shape. I'm trying to follow the shape of the wings, of the feathers on that wing. Still using this very thin glaze here. And all the way until I have some of the feathers, some of the gaps sort of visible. Actually, I'm just going to cover the other side of the wing. You can see here, and it goes down here and all the way to the tip here. So something like this. Okay. And I can also see the darker part here, but we can come back to this later with the darker tone. So I'm going to clean my brush, and I just want it to be damp, and I'm going to just make these dots in the pattern on the Kingfisher's wing. And with the cleaner part of my tissue, just going to gently touch this part. Now we can proceed to painting the darker parts. So for this I need more intense color, so I'm just going to mix the very thick mixture, just a tiny bit of water, and I want this to be quite dark, and I might get a little bit of yellow just to desaturate it, more grey now than blue. Just wipe the excess, and I'm going to paint the eye very carefully. And I'm going to leave the highlight here. And I also want to paint the underneath of this. So I just need a slightly more water, a drop of water here, and just pull this pigment down. And this actually goes quite far here, all the way pretty much to the Kingfisher's eye. And this part here is also quite dark, so I'm just going to pull this across like this. This edge is very sharp, so I'm just going to slightly let it run here. And I'm going to mix more of the darker color that I can use here on the wings. I'm just going to gently go over this area again, just painting the edge. And I'm just going to pull a few of these details, so there's just these gaps. And I'm just going to gently let it run into the rest of the wing. Just removing any of the harder edges. This should be darker. More of my mix. Desaturated a little bit. And I just want to give a little bit more detail to this part, so a little bit more definition to these feathers. It's a little bit stronger, darker color here underneath. And under our Kingfisher. Just to add a little bit more contrast as well to this part. And with just a damp brush, I'm just going to gently touch the edge of that shadow just to soften it a little bit. So I'm just touching just the area in between, just to add that shadow. I hope that you enjoyed painting along with me today, and that this little Kingfisher brought a little bit of calm at the end of the year. As we move into the new year, I'll be taking part in Strada 31-day challenge, something I'm really looking forward to. I'll be sharing some snippets and behind-the-scenes moments from this challenge throughout January. So if you'd like to follow along, paint with me, or simply just watch the process, I'd love to have you here. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I see you again soon.